How's everyone doing today?
We're all doing okay.
Good.
Good, good. So,
Well, it's time to start. So, Robert, go ahead and take over and just kind of share with us all the things that I think that are not necessarily the funnest topics, but are worthwhile to have as agents. As we continue to treat our businesses like businesses, I think it's worthwhile to do things on the back end to be able to make sure that we are getting the best benefit from it. So, go ahead and take it away, Robert.
all right, fantastic. Thanks for being here today, everybody. I'm Rob Pemberton from Ohio. You probably see my redheaded friend Chris Shannon on here more often than I am, but we are very excited to be leading the charge for Five here in Ohio. I'm going to attempt to share my screen and see if this works for us appropriately. So today's topic, we want to run our business like a business. So for those of you that have an LLC, can you just put your hand up for me? All right. And those of you that don't, put your other hand up for me. Okay, great. So an LLC is a limited liability corporation that is a business structure that offers limited liability protection and pass-through taxation. So as corporations, the LLC legally exists as a separate entity from its owner. So as a business owner, you don't want to be sued individually. You want to protect yourself with an LLC. And as an agent who's conscious of where your money goes, you want to make sure that you're also saving as much money as you can by using every tax loophole that you can. And so that's where your limited liability corporation or your LLC comes into play. So protect yourself from lawsuits and debts and use it as a pass-through entity. In the state of Ohio,
Can you
I'm sure your
help
state.
explain that real quick? Because I
So,
don't think people understand what it means to pass through.
so that will be coming up shortly. So you're working a little ahead of me. I appreciate that. So we will cover that in, I think, 3 slides from now. To set up your LLC in the state of Ohio, in your state, you go to the Secretary of State and you ask to create an LLC. From there, you do a business search to see what other names of LLCs are out there. My LLC is Rob Pemberton Realtor LLC. And you can come up with whatever creative name you want. And we'll talk about some naming suggestions when we get down towards the end. But in Ohio, it's $99 and regular processing gets you your LLC in about a week. There's no need to pay for the $500 rush. It will be there very quickly, at least in this state. Utah, California, Northeast may be a little different. Once you have your LLC, you'll want to jump over to the irs.gov and get yourself an employee ID number or an EIN. This is your social security number for your business. So the LLC will have its own social security number called an EIN. Anytime you've turned in a W-9 for a new build, you'll see the EIN of 5 on that. And so that's the SSN, the social security number for business. Once you have your LLC, your EIN, I'm going quick. What's up, bud?
Can you make it larger? People can't see the screen.
I don't know if I can make it larger. My face goes away, but let's try it. Let's see what we can do.
Ooh,
There, it's bigger. Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yep, bear with me. Let me see.
there you go.
There's better. A little bit better.
Yeah, it's better.
Better? Okay, perfect. Thanks. Feedback's important. I appreciate you guys. All right. So once you have your LLC, your EIN, you can then go open your bank accounts. So you can get your checking account in your business name. Then you'll want to make sure that your brokerage is paying your commission checks into your business account. From then you can get a debit card and checking account, and you can sort of separate your personal expenses from your business expenses. So if you need to go get 6 yard signs, if you want to run Facebook ads, if you want to pay a stager, you can do all of that out of your business account, and it will keep your expenses unmingled. We don't want to commingle them. So with an LLC and an EIN and a bank account, if you wanted to hire an employee, you certainly could do so. I am an employee of my own LLC, and this is where the taxing helps. So as an employee of the LLC, I'm no longer viewed by the federal government as self-employed. And so I immediately saved 10% in my federal income tax. So if you made $100,000 last year by setting up your LLC for $99, you've saved yourself 10 grand in the self-employment tax. And so as a realtor that likes to track my expenses, 10 grand is totally worth it. Now you can hire another employee as an admin or a stager or photographer. All these things can be a W-2 employee through the LLC, and you can protect yourself and run all of your commissions into the business account, and then pay yourself a salary so you're a little more. So your salary and your commissions and your income don't go up and down like a roller coaster. You can budget yourself out. I run myself on a payroll company. I use surepayroll.com. You can pick any local vendor that works best for you, but they'll help you set up your federal withholding, your state tax, your local income tax, school district, depending on how your state does it. What I found, again, I'm not a tax professional, but this is just Rob's best practice, what's worked for my finances and my taxes. I pay myself 50% through payroll and 50% through what's called a K-1 distribution. So if I make $100,000 a year, that's pulling a salary of payroll $1,000 per week, and then $1,000 worth of withdrawals out of my account, just transferred over into my personal checking. And at the end of the year, based on my expenses and the federal withholding that comes out, I find that 50-50 split to work best for me, but you can talk to your own accountant about what works best for you. This will then give you an opportunity to track your expenses on the seller side. So I use QuickBooks, and anytime a commission is paid into me, I like to figure out what money I spent on that transaction so I can figure out what's getting me the best rate of return. So was there a referral fee or an acquisition fee? Did I have to pay Realty Real Estate a referral fee because they were nice enough to send me a Columbus and Ohio buyer? Or did I spend $1,200 last month on Zillow leads that also fed into whether or not I had an acquisition cost? Staging and photos, postcards, or print marketing. I still postcard out 20 postcards to every house that I list or sell. Social media marketing, transaction coordinating fee, or office or desk rent. We don't have that here, but some of you outside of the Five brokerage may have an office fee or a monthly desk fee that you want to add into your transactions. Same thing on the buyer side. Is there a referral fee to somebody outside the state of Ohio? Is there an acquisition fee through Zillow, Boomtown? Print marketing again. Hey, welcome your new neighbors to the neighborhood. They just bought a house. The 5 houses on either side, the 10 houses across the street. That's my 20. Social media marketing, transaction fee, a closing gift, and a housewarming party. These are all things that I do so that the client remembers who I am. So when they go to sell in 5 to 7 years, I'm still top of mind. And all of those go into an exact transaction. So I put those in QuickBooks and I break them down as cost of goods sold. This gives me a better idea to understand my profit and loss statement. So what's my take home versus my broker split minus expenses? What is the money that's in my account left after expenses? What are the expenses that are helping me find the next client? I don't like to spend money on anything if it's not going to lead business back to me. So I'm not going to buy a $50 gift card to Home Depot as a closing gift. I'm going to buy a $50 cutting board, so it's got my logo on the back, and when everyone says that's a great cutting board, where did it come from? It came from a realtor. So closing gifts don't need to be disposable. They need to be something that sticks around forever and ever. So I'm going pretty fast. I understand this, but I want to respect everybody's time so we can get through this. But excuse me, now that you're an established, successful business, what's next? You understand where your money comes from. You understand where your money's going. You've set up your LLC and your payroll so you can get some tax loopholes. Does it make sense to expand? Does it make sense to start a team? Does it make sense to start a satellite office? Does it make sense to start your own office? Does it make sense to expand 5-year brokerage into a new city? These are all things you can do when you understand where your money's coming from and where your money's going. Once you have this established LLC and profit and loss statement, you'll want to go to DUNS and Bradstreet, dnb.com, and set up what's called a DUNS number. and you'll upload your LLC paperwork and your articles of incorporation. And this is when you start building business credit. So rather than getting a business credit card tied to your own personal Social Security and personal credit report, this is an opportunity to establish the business as its own entity with its own credit line. So if you do want to go open an office and you need a $10,000 credit line so you can buy desks and computers, you can do so in the LLC name rather than your personal name. And then from there, you're going to get a standard industry classification number. For real estate, it's 6531. Once you set up your LLC and an EIN and you classify yourself as a standard industry classification, you can never change it. So I've seen other realtors that used to own a grooming business and now they've changed their LLC name, but every time they do their taxes, they're considered a grooming business rather than a real estate professional. So you may want to start a new LLC rather than just reclassify your old one. You can build this D&B number, this DUNS and Bradstreet number, by doing things online with Quill, Uline, Granger, Staples. They'll all give you a net 30. You go ahead and buy your product today, they'll invoice you, and in 30 days, net 30, you owe them the money. And as you build positive history, you can show that you bought your office supplies or your paper towels for your house or your highlighters for your desk through Staples Advantage, paid off that bill, and you're building credit. Credit cards that don't require a personal guarantee, Capital One Spark, Chase Inc., Navy Fed, Dun and Bradstreet has their own, and you can go to nav.com and start building some of that business credit. That is my presentation for you now. As I've gone through everything, what questions can I answer for all of you?
Is there a point where this like doesn't make sense if you're early enough, like in your business, if you're, a newer agent?
Sure. It's never too early to get started. It's better to have it and not need it than turn around and be like, hey, I've got 6 months of big commissions I wasn't expecting, and now I've got to pay an extra 10% to the federal government. So the good thing to do is to set it up early in January or February. And at least in Ohio, we don't start selling until March or April. So I want to get it locked in Q1 so that I can get everything on the 5 side. They're paying to Rob Pemberton LLC rather than Rob Pemberton SSN. Good question.
Thank you.
So
My pleasure.
things are not as easy as Ohio to set it up.
Correct.
So the cost is very expensive. And so that's another reason why you may choose to talk to an accountant to see when is that threshold line where it makes more sense to become an LLC or an S Corp versus just being an independent agent that's being paid directly.
Yeah, I'm an LLC, but I file my taxes elected as an S Corp, which is a tip from my accountant. Because I'm an LLC, I don't have shareholders that S Corps do, but you can figure that out. But on the federal taxes, you can elect as an S Corp.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, are you reading the comments?
Yep. I'm scrolling down for 3 years now with the bank account with it. Yep, I'll be able to send out the slides for everybody to see. Oh, they're already in the circle. Thank you, Emily. So yeah, if you already have your LLC set up and you already have your business checking set up, you can talk to the team at Five and just have them start do a different direct deposit form and have them send that money to your business account rather than your personal account.
Rob, I have a question. So I have my LLC set up and I have used it to Zelle people for showings, and those types of things. I don't have QuickBooks. I just keep up with everything via Excel.
Mhm.
Do you have separate bank accounts or just one bank account? I missed the first slide.
I have a personal account and I have 2 LLCs and I have different checking accounts for each LLC.
Oh, okay. But and then do you have a savings account off of that LLC for your real
I do
estate?
not.
Or no?
No.
Okay, because some people talk about opening up different accounts, and I've never been a big fan of that.
So
But
yeah, some people
for
do.
some people, they have to compartmentalize like what they're going to owe in taxes and that type of thing. So
Right. And so since I have the payroll set up, they're taking taxes. I pay myself weekly because my very first
Oh, they're taking the
weekly,
taxes
I
out of
love
the payroll
having
through that. Gotcha.
So that pays part of that. Yeah. So I love seeing that direct deposit hit on Fridays. It makes me feel like a big boy that can go out and conquer the weekend. So I pay myself weekly.
Nice.
Hmm.
And the QuickBooks, are you just using QuickBooks Online? The
Yeah, just
version?
QuickBooks Online. And so I get a little more nerdy about it than most folks. So I break it down per transaction. So if I'm selling 123 Main Street, every transaction that goes, any expenditure that goes into that. So if there's an overage in mileage for my photographer to go the extra 50 miles to go take drone photos, that goes into that photo. Or goes into that cost of goods sold, so I know exactly where my money's going. So let's say I make a $10,000 commission. I know that I'm on an 80-20 with the brokerage, and I know that I've then got $8,000 left over, and I spent $1,500. Now I've got $6,500 that goes into my bank account, and so from there I'm going to pay my payroll. I'm going to have some money left over for taxes at the end of the year, but I also have $1,500 worth of write-offs for that transaction because I can look back and show where that's at.
Gotcha. Nice. Thank you.
And Andrew, I've never seen you be this quiet. I know you got a question for me. I'm
I
wearing my
already have all
glasses.
this set.
You
I already have all this
already
set
got it
up,
set?
so I don't have any questions.
How long have you had your LLC set up?
I've had it since 2018,
Okay. All right. So you remember what
filing
life
as an S
before
corp.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the biggest benefit you've seen since you've set up your LLC? Is it just
Well,
extra
when
homework or is it actual?
No, when I set it up first, it was good because it saved us 15% for the self-employment tax right off the bat. But then also, I think people don't realize like you only have to pay taxes on the money you take out of your business. So if you have extra profit or whatever, you leave it in your business, you don't pay taxes on that money. So I like that aspect because I can control what I take out or what I leave in. Besides the payroll, we do the payroll
Right.
too.
Well, another tip that my accountant told me is that since I own the business and I'm an employee of the business, when I set up my 401k or my retirement plan, I can contribute as an employee and then I can match it as an employer. So if I've got too
Yeah.
much money left over at the end of the year, I put in $1,000 a month and then I can match it. So now I'm doing 24,000 instead of 12,000 with that extra money that's left over. But I don't have to if I run out of if I had too much month at the end of the money, I don't have to make that contribution.
Mhm.
Would you say that QuickBooks is the best way to keep up with all your expenses and income?
I don't know if I say it's the best. It's the one that I'm stuck with. I've been doing it this for 8 years, so it's kind of hard to switch to something else at this point. So if you have something like an Excel spreadsheet that works best for you, or some other tracker that works best for you, then use the one you know the best. That's the one that'll help you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just a reminder
We used
to,
QuickBooks and our bookkeeper tried to get us to switch it over to Zero, but then we switched it back because our CPA has like that integration to QuickBooks, so he can dial in whenever he wants to. So that's a big benefit too, that he can check our books whenever he needs to.
Yeah, it's pretty ubiquitous. Almost everybody uses it, so it may
Yeah.
not be the best, but it's everywhere. So it's what I'm stuck with. Fred, you were saying something?
yeah, just a reminder that each state handles it differently from a real estate commission perspective. Not commissions, but like the Texas Real Estate Commission is what I'm talking about. With different categories of licenses for an LLC, and depending on how you use it, for example, in Texas, you may or may not require to have the entity to be licensed, right? So I'm not sure what other states are, but always just make sure that you understand your state law from the real estate side, if you need to do anything from that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I only know how the local laws affect me. So you might want to check with your local providers and do some YouTube or TikTok research and figure out what's best for you.
Anyone else have any other questions? You want to dive a little bit more into the Dun and Bradstreet? That's something I've never done before. Curious if you've done anything with it or you just know about it.
I've just started it this year, started building my business line of credit. There's been a couple of things that I wanted to do for the team to expand, and everything was tied to my personal credit. And so doing some research, I've got a DUNS and Bradstreet number, and I've started doing some of the net 30s. I signed up for a NAV Prime account. It's $30 a month that adds 3 trade lines to my DMB number, so I can start building credit faster. So just like when you were 18 and you got out of high school and went off to college or started your real estate career, you don't have any credit history. And so I'm sort of starting over. I'm now 60 days into a new credit history with the business, even though the business has been open for 8 years. I've never. And so for the first 5 years of my career, I just was taking all the money home, saving everything into TurboTax and wondering why I owed $30,000 at the end of the year. And so then you start figuring out that you can save money here, tax loophole there, and do some different things. So I got the LLC and the EIN for the last 7 years. And now here in year 8, I'm trying to start a business credit line.
Does anybody here have a business line?
I
Mm-mm.
do
Do you?
through PNC Bank. Yeah.
So,
One thing else I was going to say, Rob, is when people get to the point where they're doing it S corp and you have to have yourself on payroll, don't be afraid of the payroll because there's all kinds of companies that will do that. I use Gusto.
Mhm.
I never have to do any of my tax filings or anything. They do all of it for me, and it's super easy. Like Rob said,
Yeah.
once you set it up, like you literally don't even have to go in there and change anything.
Yeah, and unless you move, like I use surepayroll.com, and every year they give me a 50% off. So they charge me $40 a month for payroll, and they only
Mhm.
charge me every other month. And so I get charged in February, April, June, and then they're like, okay, we're going to charge you every month. And I'm like, well, I think I'm going to leave, and they're like, oh no, we'll do another 50%. So for $40 a month to set up your payroll, and then if you move, you're like, well, I'm in a new school district, or I've got a new, then you have to sort of fill out that paperwork again like you would at a regular employer. But now you're the boss, and if you want to hire an admin or a second agent or somebody that you want to pay through a payroll company, you have everything in place to do so. And it's better to have it, not need it, so you can jump when you're ready, rather than, oh, well, give me 3 weeks to get this set up, and then that employee finds another job somewhere else, and now you're stuck again.
Mhm.
Insurance is also another, I think, benefit to having, being an employer.
Mhm.
Being for yourself, your significant other, if you have kids, for them, versus if you're independent, it's harder to do that. So it's another benefit of having your LLC.
Absolutely. So, yep, create yourself an LLC and a business within the business here at Five, and so you can get yourself set up and get some of those tax loopholes and be prepared. It's a little bit more homework, but put you in a good position to save money.
I like that you named that after yourself, Rob, because I have my LLC for my brokerage, but now that I moved my brokerage under 5, I was trying to figure out how to rename it, but I didn't even think to just use my name.
Well, that's a good point. So as I'm exploring D&B, Dun and Bradstreet, and getting a trade line for myself, there are certain names that the banks don't care for, like realtor, real estate. So I should rename it as like enterprises or consulting or something that doesn't have to do with real estate, because real estate's so fickle, or viewed by the banks as being so fickle. It's a little harder for me to get some of these trade lines up and running. So when you name
Yeah.
your business, don't put the word realtor or real estate in it, but your own name is fine.
Rob, I have a quick question. So is the biggest reason why you went LLC versus S Corp, is it because of the shares, or was there another reason? Because I went S Corp here in California.
Here in Ohio, LLC is just cheaper, and I don't have any other owners of the business. So if I was married or had a child in the business, or I had a business partner that I wanted to share the business with, we would have gone S Corp. But for me in Ohio, LLC was an easier setup.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
but I do my taxes as an S Corp, so I should be an S Corp. It was just easier to set up the LLC.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Question.
I do the same thing, Rob. It's a LLC filed as an S corp.
See, all the cool kids are doing it. I love it. It's perfect. Hey, Chuck Miller, that's a good looking car you got going on there, bud. Oh man, that was back to the profile pic.
Did I turn it off somehow? I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm on my phone and trying to drive, which is probably not a great recipe.
No, I think you're driving and trying to be on your phone. I think is what you should flip that around a little bit. But yeah, this is just some of the business planning that I do with my team and some of the folks here in Ohio within the brokerage. And it's helped me, for the first 5 years of my career, when the commission came in, I would spend the whole thing. It was very much feast or famine. And so putting the money in a business account, I don't take personal money out of the business account, so I got to wait till payday. And then on payday, I can do the K1 distribution, and it just gives me a clear delineation between money that Rob should spend and money that Rob should spend on the business. And it's just a self-discipline for me. And it comes with tax breaks, so it works out.
Rob, can you explain the K1 distribution a little bit more?
Sure. Anytime you take money out of your business account, the IRS classifies that as a K1 distribution, like a 401k or a W-4. Like it's just the K1 is just the IRS term for it. So if you were to take the money out $100 at a time, it would be a K1 distribution of $100.
Oh, gotcha. And then the payroll part is 50%, you said.
I do 50-50. I found that to be the best practice for me. If when you maximize your withholding and then at the end of the year you get a big tax refund, you can do it that way, or you can go the other way where you don't do any payroll, and at the end of the year you owe them a $40,000 check. So I do right in the middle, 50-50 each way.
Last year I paid in quarterly, so this year I'm trying to get a little smarter.
Yeah, you live and you learn. You make the best decision you can with the information at hand, and then next year you're smarter. So you'll figure it out.
Thank you.
I know this isn't the funnest topic ever, but I think it's an important topic that most of you guys, as you continue to build your business, and even myself, like you learn something new every single day. And so I encourage you guys to do it if you haven't already set that up. Now, if you're brand new and you're like, look, I'm just trying to figure out my life, like that's one thing. But if you guys are, this is your full-time job and you're doing this consistently and you're getting paid, like, if you had an experience where you've had to do your taxes and you're like, oh my gosh, I've paid Uncle Sam a lot of money. This is like an easy way to be able to at least mitigate some of those taxes. So it's worthwhile doing, and it also protects you. I know that there's like some things that you need to do to make sure that you are protected from some of that liability that you're talking about, Rob. The attorneys call it piercing the corporate veil. You know anything about that to talk on?
There are that's another can of worms. So attorneys are always going to find a way to catch you and you're not doing something right. So if you're running your personal expenses through the LLC, they're going to say, well, it's not really, and it's not limited liability corporation. It's just an extra layer of paperwork, and you're using this money for your own personal expenses. So you're just like you would be without an LLC, and then they can come after you. So if somebody sues me and comes after the LLC is all they get. If I don't have the LLC and they sue me, they can come get my house, my dog, my 401k money. They can come get my assets. But with the LLC, I know Chris is in the middle of another flip, and so he's got that in an LLC because it was in his own personal name. They could take his personal house and the projects he's working on and the next thing. So don't run your personal expenses through the LLC. There's a handful of other things, but my lack of legal degree is probably not going to be the right answer. So I'll let you Google that one on your own.
I think it's important for you to also realize that, just to kind of reiterate what he said in different terms, if you have an LLC set up and you have a bank account set up with that name, or an S Corp, right? One of the same. If you have a corporation built, do not buy stuff for the corporation from your own personal credit cards.
Yes.
And vice versa, right? So like if you have a business credit card, and you can have a business credit card that's specifically, through the corporation, or you can have it to where you just have a business card that's associated with your name, but you designate it as a business credit card, and therefore you only buy things for the business on that credit card. So every single, your gas, your like whatever you buy, you put on that credit card if it's specifically for your business and only for your business. And if you do it that way, then when you make that payment on that credit card, you pay from your LLC bank account. And so that keeps it very clean and easy, both to do your taxes and also your P&Ls, because then you know that every single thing you put on that credit card was specifically for business. You just got to make sure you if you need to write on that credit card or whatever it is, to make sure that it is business only. So you're not buying groceries with it, or you're not buying clothes or whatever else that doesn't, is not directly a business expense.
Well, I don't know, maybe if you get that nice blazer for the open houses, that can be a business expense, but
What is
that's,
that? Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your annual dues, you've got to put gas in your car, yard signs, advertising. When you're taking clients out for lunch, it's not out of your personal account, it's out of your professional account. And you can just sort of make that line. So as you're saving up to make your year-end contributions to MDA or to whatever charity you like, or when you're planning on coming to the 5 retreat on Cinco de Mayo, like you can budget that money out and it comes out of your business account, because that will be a very fun business trip. But business it will be.
Nice plug. Going back to the blazer comment, if you do get a blazer, the way you guarantee that it's a business expense is if you brand your brand on it.
Logo
Like,
it. Yep.
put a logo on it, then that becomes no, this is I would not wear this night out without, like it'd be a business thing specifically. So anyway, let's see. And then also minutes. Every year you're supposed to take minutes. I'm just trying to think of like small little things that might
Mhm.
help attorneys attack your LLC that you want to avoid. So every single year you want to have a meeting, you want to acknowledge if there's any changes to the corporation as far as any of the people there, because when you're your own LLC, you're going to be the president and the vice president and the secretary. You're going to be filling all those roles. And if that changes, then you acknowledge it. Then if it doesn't, then you leave it the same. And having a copy of it, where you're taking your minutes, what you guys discussed, print that out, signing it, and then saving it into your file. Like that's something that should be done every single year. A lot of people don't do it. And so that's an opportunity. The cool thing is that corporate meeting that you have with yourself, you can have that in a different location as well. So the expense of getting to that location is all, then becomes a write-off as well. So anyway. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns you guys have for Rob or anybody else when it comes to LLCs, how to set that up, what to do? I know this is a little bit more high level, right? Like every single state's can be different, but I highly encourage you guys to get it set up if you haven't already done so. All right, guys, have an awesome Thursday. Rob, thank you so much for your time and putting that
Thanks
together.
everybody for having me. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your
Thanks,
weekend.
Rob.
See you.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure they'll be
Thanks,
happy if you
Thanks,
send
Rob.
text messages with more information or whatever. But otherwise, you guys have an awesome week. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks, guys.